What's up guys, my name is Brandon and everybody has the iPhone 10 on their mind, whether it's positive or negative. But in this video, I'm going to tell you 7 reasons why you should not buy the iPhone 10 and why you may want to buy the iPhone 8 or 8 Plus instead. And I also have a video on why you should buy the iPhone 10 instead of the iPhone 8 or 8 Plus, and you can find that video down in the description below. Alright, so let's get to the reasons of why you should not buy the iPhone 10. Number 1, we're going to start off with the most obvious one because I know everybody's going to put it in the comment section if I don't talk about it first, and that is the price of the iPhone 10. We've all seen the memes on social media. Everybody is complaining about the $1,000 starting price tag of the iPhone 10. So yes, it starts at $999 for the 64 gig and it goes up to $1,149 for the 256 gig variant, while the iPhone 8 is $699 for the 64 gig variant and $849 for 256 gigs. Meanwhile, the 8 Plus is $799 for 64 gigs and $949 for 256 gigs. And just a disclaimer, I see both sides of the argument here. I can see why somebody would say it's so expensive and you shouldn't get it, but I can also see why it's a reasonable price tag for what you get. However, I think you should buy the iPhone 8 and save a couple $100 because you're going to be getting the same performance. You're going to have the same A11 Bionic chip in the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus as you have in the iPhone 10. Now it's rumored that the iPhone 10 may have an extra gigabyte of RAM, so it may be a tiny bit faster, but in day-to-day usage, you're probably not going to notice any speed difference at all in the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus versus the iPhone 10. And I don't know about you guys, but if I'm going to be paying a couple $100 more for a device, I'm going to expect it to be faster. I'm going to want it to be faster than what I could get for a couple $100 less. You're basically paying a premium on the iPhone 10 just for the screen, for the minor camera improvements, and then also Face ID. So yeah, save yourself a couple $100 and go for the iPhone 8 or 8 Plus instead. The second reason you should not get the iPhone 10 and maybe get the iPhone 8 or 8 Plus instead is because the iPhone 10 does not have a home button or Touch ID. Now this was a very controversial move by Apple with the iPhone 10, and a lot of people aren't going to be buying it because it does not have a home button. You're not going to have that old reliable home button that you've been used to for so many years, whether it be the physical home button on the 6S, the SE and below, or the pressure sensitive button like the software button found on the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus. So since you don't have a home button on the iPhone 10, you're going to have to learn and use a lot of new gesture controls to activate certain functions in the iPhone OS. And the gestures I'm referring to are unlocking the device, which is going to be from swiping from the bottom, from the control center on the top right to the notification center. You're going to have to learn all these new gestures, which is just going to be something new, and it's going to be kind of confusing not having a home button. And some of you may not be ready for that just yet. And number 3, as I just mentioned, since there's no home button, that means there is no Touch ID. And yes, Apple did make it very clear at their keynote that Face ID is more secure than Touch ID. However, I think that Touch ID is so much more convenient than Face ID. I don't always look at my phone when I unlock it. A lot of times I have my phone in my pocket and I'll pull it out and in one gesture, just unlock it at the same time as I'm pulling it out. I'll have my finger right there, on the fingerprint sensor, touch in on the pressure sensitive button on the iPhone 7, and it'll be unlocked by the time I get it out of my pocket. So you're not going to be able to do that with Face ID, and I just feel like it's a lot less convenient and it'll be a lot less accurate as well. There's just a lot more factors that go into scanning a face than scanning a fingerprint. Not to mention you can only use one face with Face ID, whereas Touch ID, you can have multiple fingerprints. I just think that scanning your fingerprint and just having a fingerprint sensor is so much more convenient than facial recognition to unlock a device. I mean, this was even true for the Samsung Galaxy S8. Even on the back, it was a very inconvenient spot on the S8, but I found myself going back to that so many times because it was just so convenient and there, and it took less time. The fourth reason you should not buy the iPhone 10 is because it's technically a first generation product, and first generation products almost always have software and hardware issues at launch. And I'm not talking about just Apple here, just any company in general. Usually when they release something brand new, a first generation of anything, it doesn't even have to be, like an electronic device. The first generation of anything almost always has some sort of issue that they fix later on. But if we're talking specifically about Apple, we had the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 4 that really stand out as having issues. So the iPhone 6 had Bendgate, and then the iPhone 4 had the antenna issue, which did get fixed in the iPhone 4S. So yeah, we could probably expect some sort of major issue, whether that be hardware or software, with the iPhone 10 when it does launch. So this is a big reason I don't buy the first generation of most products. I didn't buy the first generation of the Apple Watch for the same reason. And a lot of times I don't buy the first year of a new body style of a car for the same reason. So yeah, I would either get the iPhone 8 or 8 Plus or just wait until the 2018 iPhone. Number 5, there's no reachability feature on the iPhone 10. So ever since it was introduced, I'm sure pretty much all of you have used the reachability feature on iOS. So this is huge whether you have a regular size iPhone or a plus size iPhone, but especially especially the plus size iPhone, reachability is a massive, massive feature that I personally use all the time, especially when I'm in bed and using my phone with just one hand. When it's sideways, it's just so much easier to use reachability, but the iPhone 10 is not going to have that feature. Now sure, the iPhone 10 is about the same size as the iPhone 8. It's not like a plus size model, even though it does have a big screen, but this is still a big deal for a lot of people. People with small hands are not going to be able to use the iPhone 10 with just one hand, and even people with big hands probably aren't going to be able to use the iPhone 10 with just one hand because of the control center, the gestures you have to do. You're basically going to have to use two hands at all time with the iPhone 10, which is pretty unfortunate. Now, before we move on to the last two reasons, I want to tell you guys about VideoBlocks, who are awesome enough to sponsor this video. VideoBlocks is one of the fastest growing stock video libraries that gives you unlimited access to over 3 million royalty-free videos, After Effects templates, and motion backgrounds. These clips are super useful for people like me, content creators, and the website even allows you to sell your own work without taking a cut of the profit, making it the only contributor marketplace to give 100% commissions to the creators. And you can see here, I've actually used typography-based templates from VideoBlocks before, and it works out tremendously. So we've teamed up to give away 7 free days of VideoBlocks so you can try it out and get access to their massive video library. And the good thing is, once your free trial is up, you get to keep everything you downloaded without having to worry about copyright issues or anything like that. So go ahead and click the link in the description or in the cards to get started. The 6th reason is another very controversial one that everybody has been bashing on Twitter, and that is the top notch on the iPhone 10. Now, just a quick note, this is technically actually called the top sensor housing, not the top notch. So the top sensor housing, a lot of people still call it the top notch, but that's the technical name of it. So yeah, this top notch is a big turnoff for a lot of people, both in its physical appearance, with just how it looks, even with the screen off, and then also with the screen on, how the software is gonna have to basically maneuver around that notch is a big deal, a big turnoff for a lot of people. And because of that notch, you're gonna have videos and content getting cropped, which looks pretty ugly and just takes away from that awesome OLED screen. So it's gonna be really interesting to see what Apple actually does with this notch, and how they get content to maneuver around that notch and prevent, things from getting cropped and things like that. So I do know that when you shoot videos and things like that, you're not going to have that notch shown right there in screenshots as well. If you take a screenshot, that notch is not going to have like a cropped, you're not going to be able to see the notch in the screenshot or anything like that. So that is good news, but still, it's a big turnoff for a lot of people. Now, I say all that to say this, I think that this is actually going to grow on a lot of people. I don't think that this notch is going to be a big deal in a year from now, and people are going to be used to it. And the final reason why I feel like you should not buy the iPhone 10 is because it lacks a real X factor, no pun intended. With this price tag and with the hype built around it, the 10th anniversary, the Steve Jobs Theater, everything like that, you would expect there to be some kind of X factor, something very unique on this iPhone that no other phone on the market has. But we didn't get that. I would have loved to see some kind of unexpected surprise feature on the iPhone 10 that absolutely no other phone on the market has. We've seen this with phones like the S8. We've seen this with other previous phones, that have some kind of X factor that really differentiates them from every other phone on the market. But the iPhone 10 just doesn't have that. And again, you would just expect it from such an expensive phone, and so much history behind the phone. A 10th anniversary, Steve Jobs Theater, like I said, everything. You would just expect there to be something very, very unique about it, but there's just not. So you should get the iPhone 8 or 8 Plus instead. So there you have it, guys. Those are the 7 reasons why I feel like you should not buy the iPhone 10 and why you may want to buy the iPhone 8 or 8 Plus instead. Let me know in the comment section whether you agree or disagree. I'm sure you've already left your comment, but if you haven't yet, leave a comment down below letting me know if you disagree at all with any of the points I made about the iPhone 10 and why you disagree. And of course, if you haven't checked out the other video on why you should buy the iPhone 10, make sure to check that out in the cards or the description right now. Also, once again, shout out to the sponsor of this video, VideoBlocks. Make sure you go down to the description below and check that link out for a free 7-day trial. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Also, make sure to subscribe for a lot more iPhone 10, iPhone 8, Note 8, a ton more content coming to the channel. So thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll see you soon.